Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky, a podcast where I sit down with some of my friends in the local Columbus, Ohio theater, film, and improv scene and talk a bunch of geeky stuff. Some of it good, some of it bad, but all of it definitely geeky. If you enjoy our program, be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and to leave a review or subscribe wherever you can get podcasts. Our official sponsor of the show is Audible. With over 200,000 titles to choose from, get one audiobook and 2 Audible originals each month included with your trial, even once your trial ends and normal membership begins. Best part is you own your library, meaning you keep the books even if you cancel with easy exchanges. So if you don't love a book, swap it out for free anytime. Sign up for your free trial over at audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky. Download the Audible app and start enjoying your new audiobook now. Also, support for this podcast has been made possible by our Kickstarter backers, Ashley Carson, Catherine Ranella, Woos, Yannick, Doug Poeta, Christopher LeBlanc, Andrew, Kenny, Jerome Wetzel, Casey May, Anonymous, Tavia Ordway, Anthony Portillo, Jen and Brian Petrie, Guest 16554255418, Laura Spires, Kimberly Barr, Kyle Jepson. We here at The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky just wanted to offer the following discretion that this episode was pre-recorded in the last few months of 2019. In this episode, I am here with
Matt Schlichting.
And we sit down and we're already sitting down. We're not going to sit down later. We're already sitting down. And we're going to talk about the film Palm Springs, found on the original Hulu movie, on this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. A word of warning, though, that there will be a lot of spoilers for this, and I'm going to guess Groundhog Day maybe too, and anything else we talk about. So listener beware. If there's anything else you want to say about Palm Springs, please let us know. Join in the conversation. Email at goodbadgeeky@gmail.com or Instagram or Twitter us at username goodbadgeeky. Matt, you are the first podcast we're recording. It might not be the first released in that order, but in this COVID world, you're the first podcast we recorded for GBG, and I'm glad it's you. And this is a movie I wanted to do for because I think this hit. When did this movie come out? Like
July?
Originally? Was it July?
I think so.
But I feel like I knew about it before COVID happened, and I was really excited for it. It's like, oh, I can't wait to podcast that.
Yeah.
And then everything went to shit. So
Well, I know they released it at Sundance, and then it got Hulu'd in July, I think.
Yeah, and I remember some of the people I follow on Twitter, like they were talking about the film in a very good way on Twitter and Instagram or wherever else I was seeing articles about it. There was good buzz for the film.
It was doing the tweets.
It was doing the tweets.
Oh, boy.
It was doing a little snap pictures, or I guess with links to the articles. But so for those who don't know, Palm Springs is a film that is really a time loop movie. I would say the big attraction is you have J.K. Simmons, you have Andy Samberg, and then you have the mom from How I Met Your Mother,
Cristin Milioti.
Yes. She is so adorable in everything she's in. Even when she's playing, she's like really throwing heavy emotions out there, like mean emotions, like calling people's names. I find her just to be charming and adorable.
This is a fact that I'm unable to refute.
Yeah. So, so that alone, the cast alone is good. The general gist is that Andy Samberg's character, Niles, is stuck in a time loop. And he starts making out with one of the bridesmaids, who happens to be the sister of the bride, the maid of honor, which is Sarah. And Sarah witnesses in the middle of their tryst, he gets attacked by some weird army guy who you find out later to be Roy. And Roy, who calls him Shitbird, by the way. That's an important distinction. Calls him Shitbird.
Shitbird.
He loses him for a second, and then Roy eventually just leaves and goes into this cave with a bright light. And Andy Samberg, who is badly fucked up, his character now is he's got shot twice with arrows, stabbed, I think, too, with one of the other arrows as he was pulling it out, something like that, like in the leg. Yeah. he's not doing good. He goes in after Roy to the Cave of Light, and he tells Sarah, who's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Trying to make sure the guy she was making out with is okay. He's like, "Don't follow me. Please don't follow me." And he disappears into the light. And naturally, she follows him. And then when she wakes up, she is now stuck in the time loop. Time loop. And then it kind of does the typical Groundhog Day thing, but it approaches it in a very different way, which I found very refreshing, but you might have a difference of opinion on. But that's the gist, and that's what we're talking about is the film Palm Springs. So I enjoyed the movie greatly. I don't know if it has, for me, the same instant rewatchability that Groundhog Day has. Like, Bill Murray has that weird thing where he can be an asshole, and you just want to watch him be an asshole and like fight his way back. Like there's that. One of my old jobs, we had to work on weekends, and they would allow a TV in the room. The management would, and we would watch movie. I remember Groundhog Day weekend. We tried watching for about 12 hours straight Groundhog Day, which was like 4 times. It wasn't bad at all. Like, yeah. I enjoyed every moment of it. I don't know if I could do that with Palm Springs, but it's still, for me, an enjoyable movie. I think the heart's a little bit more there. But what did you think, Matt?
I enjoyed the hell out of it. I'll have to watch it again to know whether I'm right or wrong, but I don't know that there would be quite as much to pick up on in subsequent watches as there is for something like Groundhog Day. And just a quick aside, I think your point about Bill Murray playing an asshole and you just want to watch him keep being a dick is like the differences between being able to play an asshole and just being an asshole. Because even when Bill Murray's being a dick, he just oozes charm.
Yeah.
Like, he is such a graceful asshole that it's just like, that guy's really cool, even though he sucks.
Well, do you wonder if that's just also too because, well, maybe for you're like what, maybe a year or two younger than me. I'm like 30. No, you're more than 1 year younger than me, but like I'm 39. You're like what, 35?
30.
You're oh Jesus, you're way younger. So did you see Ghostbusters before Groundhog Day, or did you see Groundhog Day and then Ghostbusters?
Oh man, I'm not sure what order I saw them in. I probably saw Ghostbusters first.
Well, because I feel like everyone, even, again, your age and my age group, everyone tends to see Ghostbusters at a young age because parents don't seem to care about the sexual humor that's going on in that movie. I didn't know about it until I was much older. You just want to see kids, but you love Venkman. You love Venkman. And I feel like at that age, you just get ingrained to Peter Venkman is a lovable asshole that exudes charm. Yep. And Andy Samberg has this very different type of charm to him that doesn't... This is the first movie I've seen him play straight. Like, yeah, really straight. Like, he gets a little goofy, but not really. It's a very nice, nuanced performance for him. Because when I think of Andy Samberg, I think of, Hot Rod, pretty much all the Lonely Island films outside of this. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where he always plays the wacky guy that always is talking fast and whatever. And granted, I love that. I absolutely love that. But to see him play kind of the opposite of this, toned down, it's refreshing. But yeah. I wonder if that is a big difference in that you were saying too. Like, he doesn't have the same charm of being an asshole that Bill Murray does. But, and I didn't mean to interrupt. What else were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Just touching on Samberg's performance. It was like he plays all these goofball characters that are over the top, and Niles is more like the real life version of, the person you see at the party who is the crazy goofball character, but then this is them the rest of the time. And it's really cool seeing him just sort of accept his fate, float in the pool. He has the entire script of the day like memorized by the time we find him, which would be another fun question to talk about, is how long we think he was stuck before Sarah showed up.
Yeah, like... So, and that's the thing too, is that which a part of me enjoys, is that they never clearly say the answers to things that I feel like a movie like Groundhog Day may have tried to give you better hints at. They leave it a bit more ambiguous. Like with Phil, I think they said Phil was in there for like what, maybe 60,000 years in Groundhog Day or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
They said, and I think the original script had him in there for 1,000,000 years. Something god awful, like, whoa, this is horrific. But you can understand how that could be. With Palm Springs, the movie actually opens with him already stuck in the time loop. It's really about how he introduces Sarah into the time loop, which is very interesting in itself, because I rewatched it. I started watching it today on my lunch break, and I finished it after work was over, just so I could have it fresh in the nogs. In the nogs, that's my new word, everybody. Yeah, it's. I'm gonna put it on shirts. Make 1,000,000 off of it, but only 1,000,000. Anything more after that,
donate it to the In the Nogs Foundation, helping children in impoverished communities learn books. Learn books, kids.
It's like, oh, I would love to learn books. Well, let me tell you how with the Nogs Foundation. And now that's new sister corporation, the Nogs charity of people who like to book good. That was bad. I'm sorry. Anyway.
That organization sells itself so well with its slogans.
But the thing I was thinking about is that the thematic approach of both movies is very different too. Any time loop story like this, like Groundhog Day or Palm Springs, kind of pulls from, I feel like you might like this reference, the Greek myth of, was it Sisyphus? Sisyphus, the guy who puts the boulder, because he was kind of a douchebag, and he was punished for being a douchebag, self-aggrandizing and craftiness and deceitfulness and all that. And he's pushing a rock up. He has to live through it every day. And you know what? What happens if he just gives up and the rock crushes him? He probably starts back right down at the bottom, pushing the rock back up. And in theory, it's to reflect on how shitty of a person he was, so he can then go, hopefully change for the better. And that's what happens with Phil. But we learn pretty quickly that there is no God or karma that cares about you becoming a better person.
Right. Which I thought was really the key to the movie, is it doesn't have anything to do with divine assessments of who you are. Yeah. They only get out when Sarah finally decides, like, I'm going to fucking figure this out. I'm going to science my way out of this motherfucker.
And she does.
She does.
Quite well. And you have to wonder, too, from that scene in comparison to Niles's scenes, because during that, Sarah's gone and you don't know where the hell she is. And you're like, oh, shit. Like, he's fucking alone. I mean, I feel like the movie's all about you need people. I mean, Phil kind of learns that, too, that you need other people. But he just learns to being a better person in general is the right thing to do. And then only then when he stops pursuing Andy McDowell's character and then, just remains a good person, that's when she starts paying attention to him, and then he gets her. This is not that at all. This is like Sarah, being, because she's the more newer and fresher to the whole time loop thing, she's the one that tries to, maybe if I kill myself with the rock, okay, what if I help people along the way while I push the rock up? No, that's not working either. Then she has to literally, as you were saying, do science to, stand back.
She blows up the whole mountain.
She does, which again is crazy. It's awesome and crazy. It's really weird because Groundhog Day shows you need like an ethical, moral basis to escape, while, there is no ethical basis or God or fate or karma in Palm Springs. Yeah. It's not that at all. And I mean, both kind of do take some of that in a little bit. Like, I think Sarah changes to be, she has growth as a person, and so does Niles. Like, there's that, but I feel like it's realistic. Like, before they go through the thing at the end, she just goes, what if you get tired of me? And he's like, we're already tired of each other now. Like, that's that's the thing about relationships, is that, there is that possibility. There's going to be times where, you're going to get tired of the other person. There are times where that alleviates itself very quickly. Yep. And it just could be a number of reasons. You just had a bad day, or it's just something's rubbing you wrong, or vice versa, you're rubbing them wrong. It's the beauty of relationships. So I love that. Because, was it Groundhog Day? He just comes out and he just goes, "Fuck it, let's move here." You're just like, what? Wait, well, I mean, okay, sure. And everyone's okay with this. But this one, it's like, no, they want change. Phil seems more content to stay where he's at in Punxsutawney and whatever. But here, it's like, no, let's that's the biggest challenge, is what will tomorrow bring? You know, while Phil just wants tomorrow because he's an egocentric asshole initially, they're kind of both afraid of change. And that's what's interesting to me. But, and I think the other big thing too that's different than Groundhog Day is that no one is with Phil until probably like what, an hour and 20 minutes into the movie, where he tells Andy McDowell's character what's going on and she believes him. But then it's gone the next day. So you have no one to bounce anything off of. And in Palm Springs, you get to bounce everything off of. You know, Niles gets to bounce off his kind of nihilistic viewpoint of the world off of Sarah. And then they kind of come to a, and then there's Roy, which, let's talk about fucking Roy.
Yes.
Because J.K. Simmons is a gift to any project he's in.
Yes, he is. Animation,
live action, TV, movie, it doesn't matter. Dude's a fucking gift. And am I sad his role is small in the movie for what it is? Yes.
I don't think it could be any bigger, though.
But you're right.
You know?
No, you're right. But he's one of those actors, like every time he shows up, you're like, oh, I could have used some more J.K. Simmons. But he's like a garnish. You don't want to overdo it. But no, Roy is pissed at Niles for getting him in the time loop.
Because Roy goes along with Niles one drunken night after they do, I think, a bunch of cocaine or acid and hang out in the desert.
I have a question. Okay, so I'll admit, I'm a vanilla man. I've only done weed and the booze. I've not done cocaine or acid. But I thought they took cocaine from the Mexican Australian guy. Yeah. And they're in the bathtub and they're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. We're in the shit. We're in the shit. We're in the shit. We are the shit. But if you look at their noses, it's not even white. It's like yellow and green. It's like colors. And I'm like, did they really do coke? Is this like a weird movie thing where it's like they can't really be white? If not, we have to give it a rated R rating. I was like, but it's already R. I don't understand that, I guess.
I don't know.
It's a stupid thing, but it kind of, I remember watching it again today, and the first time I watched it, I was like, that's not coke at this point anymore. I think they've fucking done something else. And I mean, yeah, oh man. And, you know, oh no, don't go in. Please stop. Roy's amazing.
He gets sucked into the time loop, which is extra hilarious for him because he lives like 2 hours away.
Oh yeah.
He ends up waking up every day at his house with his wife and family and just has to live that over and over again. And I guess he just sporadically decides to hunt down Niles for his own evil pleasure to get back at him.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing too, is that we don't know what Niles thought going into the time loop. You know what I mean? What was his character like before the time? We don't know. Mm-hmm. We only get Sarah's, which is Sarah has made a few mistakes, like everybody does, but she's kind of stuck reliving a kind of a bad one every morning when she wakes up, which is which is kind of a bummer. She slept with her sister's new husband the day of the wedding, going into the wedding, I should say. And Like you do, yeah, of course, because it happens to everybody. So every morning, and I gotta admit, that sucks. Every morning you wake up hearing, you know, your sister's husband taking a shower.
Basically waking up to the worst decision you've ever made in your entire life every single morning.
And so...
yeah, she basically wakes up at rock bottom every morning when she's in the time loop.
Yeah. Whew. And which is pretty... That's kind of, and that sucks. You know, I can't think of the last day where I woke up and it was just automatically a shitty day. You know what I mean? It's been a while. So I can't even fathom waking up where it's just like, oh, it's a shit day. Like right off the bat. Oh no. Like, and that's every day because you're in a time loop. And that's interesting. And Sarah doesn't want to be stuck in there, but then she becomes cool with it for a bit. And then there's Roy. And Roy... So what's interesting about Roy is that in a drunken stupor, Roy was like, this has been the best night of my life. I would love to live this day over and over again. And then Niles is like, well, drunkenly, he goes, let me help you with that. And he tells him to go in. saying it's like your ancestors are in there or something. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, you know what I mean. And then he goes in, and then right as he's starting to go in, he passes out going, oh no, wait, please don't go in there. So it's like he didn't realize he was saying it per se, or that's how I took it. But Roy doesn't hear that. Roy just knows. But what's interesting too is you get in those flashbacks how Roy views the world, which is he kind of is fed up with his marriage. He's kind of fed up with his job in life. Because what does he say at the bar? Something like, the world is a fucking cesspool of darkness.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
It's something, and Niles is like, yeah, because that's when they sum each other up, and he just goes, time's arrow marches ever forward. And that's when he's like, forget the Moscato, 2 shots of bourbon. Like, I wish some random person comes up to me and starts quoting Time Zero, and I just go, you know what? Let's fucking get drunk with this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so it's interesting to see, like, you know, yeah, and now he's stuck in that hell every day with his family, or what he thinks is this hell.
Right. And so I think it'd be fun to break out all 3 of their journeys and what they discover, if that's not too trite.
No, please do.
Because Roy thinks he's already in hell in his normal life. He gets sucked into the time loop, and through the course of the movie, hunting Niles, getting hit by a car, losing his legs, and spending a night in the hospital.
Well, actually, it might have been more than a night, though. Kind of. That's the vibe I took from it. It might have been more than a night. Like, he lasted probably, into the day?
Oh, good point, yeah.
Because because that's something important about the rules of the universe that Niles tries to get through to Sarah, and Sarah doesn't really grasp, or she doesn't care. Is that pain is real.
Yep.
Like, when you get hit by that car, you wake up and you remember every ounce of pain you went through physically. It's just that somehow you survived and you're not hurt and you're fine. And so and he keeps making reference, he's like, you never want to get stuck in the hospital in the ICU. And she rams him with the car.
Yep.
And it's like, nurses wouldn't let me fucking sleep. They were afraid I was going to fall into a coma or something. It's horrible. And he was like, yeah, you never go into the ICU. It's like, oh my God.
Yep. So Roy has that experience, and it sort of, I guess, makes everything click together for him. And he has this journey of going from believing he's in hell to realizing, like, he kind of has everything he wanted from life already. And he sort of escapes the hedonistic treadmill entirely.
Yes, he does.
Like, sure, he still wants to get out of the time loop, which we can talk about the mid-credits scene in a little bit. But so he escapes hell,
yeah,
by getting sucked into it almost, and then realizes that his life it gives him a total perspective switch. Right. And then we don't really know what Niles was up to before, because like you said, he's been in the time loop for who knows how long when the movie opens up.
Now, what about Sarah? What do you think about Sarah's arc in all this?
It's a little muddier is not the right word, because she's a mess when she shows up at the wedding. I mean, I feel kind of bad saying that even about a fictional character, but good God.
Yeah, I would say she's more of an emotional mess. When you say she's not like everyone says, like, I remember when I was watching the movie the first time, they did a lot of expositions like, oh, Sarah drinking, whatever. And I was just like, she drinks, but she's not, in my opinion, like what seems to be an alcoholic. She just seems like emotionally just done with life.
She's an alcoholic.
Okay,
she doesn't know it yet. And it's not to the point where other people are calling her one, but that's
okay. Fair enough.
I think she probably spends more weekends than not waking up with an empty bottle and then another half-finished bottle of wine somewhere in her apartment.
Fair enough.
I know, because it was recognition for me.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I was trying to dance around that a little bit.
I haven't had a drink for 9 months at this point. It's great.
Well, congratulations on that, by the way. That in itself, every day is a challenge, but like still, that's a fucking awesome accomplishment. Sometimes I feel like they try to hit you over the head with some exposition or characters walking up to tell you about who the character is. And for Sarah, it's one of those moments where, yeah, Niles is seemingly the lead character, but they keep talking about Sarah a lot. And I don't fully know what alcoholism looks like in real life outside of what a movie or a TV show shows me. So that could be a part of the problem too. But yeah, so she's really messed up emotionally.
Yeah, I think she's at a point where like everything is already meaningless to her, and that's why like she's already stuck in a self-destructive loop in her real life, I think.
Yeah.
And so she has to get stuck in the time loop for her to realize, like, I can end this whenever I want. Literally, I can end it tomorrow. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to be difficult to stay on that path, but like, I could wake up tomorrow and commit to changing things and fixing my relationships where I can. And sometimes, I don't know, meeting a person or getting sucked into a time loop is what it takes to jar that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that both of them realize that it's okay to have other people. Like that is something they kind of had in common, but in very different ways, because it's like, as she said, she's like, I don't need you, which I actually, this is coming from a male's perspective, but like hearing that a lot sometimes from women on social media is that, why does the girl need the guy in a rom-com? Like that drives me nuts. To hear her say that, in my head, it feels like they're trying to, approach that thing being said, that I don't need you. And you're 100% right. She fucking solved the movie. You know what I mean? She solved the problem. She doesn't need him. And she now knows quantum fucking physics. One of the most
she does.
Hardest shit in the world. Like,
I love, because she studies at the diner, who knows for how many fucking years to learn quantum physics from scratch. And I love the moment where she's talking to the professor on Zoom or whatever, and she rattles off this question, and the professor's just like, yeah, I don't think you need my help.
Yeah, I think you got this.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you're good. Now,
she puts a bomb on a goat and saves the day.
Okay, so the goat. Let's talk about the goat, because the goat is kind of a character too.
Yeah.
In a very weird way. He is the test subject for Sarah to test out her theory of solving the time loop problem. But also, the goat is technically the first character you see in the movie. And I completely forgot about that, because it's one of those things where I remember watching the movie the first time and I was just like, oh, a goat. It's just, he's probably going to die. And then the goat shows up again and you think it's more of a joke at that point.
Yeah.
And then at the end you realize, oh, the goat is still there. Of course she's going to use the goat. That makes sense. And then the second time I just feel like the goat bookends the time loop as a viewer. And I just never thought of that. Now, I do have a logic problem for you, though, which I feel like I have the answer to. But if the goat disappears in the time loop and is successful at disappearing, and if Sarah and Niles are in the time loop and are successful in disappearing, why isn't Niles gone when Roy approaches him at the bar?
Ooh, where'd the goat go?
Where did the goat go?
Where'd the fucking goat go?
And
because to get out of the time loop, they blow themselves up inside the rift in the space-time continuum. I mean, I'm sure we could explain the goat away, but I'm willing to let it slide.
I am too. Here's the thing. It did not take away my enjoyment. I think the second time, being that I already knew what the hell. That's the weird thing about a movie like this is, it's trying to somehow probably go, gotcha. But you're not sure how, and so you're kind of like, where's this movie going? Like, it's a rom-com. They're going to end together. I know that. But how do they get together? How does this happen? And so you're kind of like paying attention, but like you're not, at least for me, I'm not as critical unless the movie just is not making any sense. And then I just spiral into anger. And
was the goat stuck in the time loop?
The goat was stuck in the time loop.
Oh.
Because at least that's the way I took it, is that the goat was nearby there when the earthquake happened and the cave opened up.
That poor goat. No idea what was happening.
Well, that you're aware of. For all you know, the goat could be the fucking smartest one there, and it's just like, anybody gonna blow me away? And nobody.
That's how you can explain it then. The goat, got stuck in it by mistake and then kept going to the cave every day because it was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then the day that it gets out of the time loop, it's like, fucking fuck that.
Another question for you. Do you remember Nana?
No.
Nana was the old lady who comes up to Niles and says something along the lines like, that was one of the best speeches I've ever seen.
Beautiful speech I've ever seen given in a wedding. You're so sweet.
Yeah. And she goes, and I've been to, I know you might not think it, but I've been to a lot of weddings.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end, when she goes up to Sarah, she says something along the lines, he's like, that was a really good speech. And then something like, my mother died when I was young too. Oh, I guess it's time for you better get going. And then she leaves. And it's just a little, do you think Nana's stuck in the time loop, or like maybe she's like a weird out of place version of Sarah?
Headcanon.
Years
in the future, Niles dies a natural death.
Yeah.
And then Sarah's like, you know what? I'm going to spend a little while back in the time loop. Then the timeline gets super fucking weird then, though, because if that's one day in time, could you keep sending versions of yourself back to that same day?
That's because then at that point it's like Terminator. You keep sending back to the same day, and then but it's an old lady version, Nana. Well, that's the other thing too. So wait a minute though. That means that she knows her. How does she know Nana, herself as Nana? I mean, so technically that means she traveled through the time loop. Oh, and actually, here's the other thing too. Oh, Andy,
this is the problem with time travel in anything is you get to a certain point and it just becomes infinitely complex and it's like, forget it.
I have to ask, do you think really that Niles slept with Sarah's dad?
Oh, sure. If you were stuck somewhere for 10,000 years and you knew you could do whatever you wanted and the day gets erased, like,
oh my God.
Yeah. I'd fuck Peter Gallagher, whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the best part is too, it's just
I was laughing hysterically at that part. It's just like, what are we doing?
God. Well, that's another guy that he has this weird like romantic lead charm, and he isn't the romantic lead often, I feel like, because I grew up with him as the lead, the guy from the In Coma Boyfriend from While You Were Sleeping. And that's how and ever since then I was just like, but I like Peter Gallagher. He just always like, he's one of those guys that shows up and you're like, fucking Peter Gallagher, I like that guy. He's an asshole in this, but I like him. And in this one, it's just like he's the typical dad role in the movie. But then he has that great delivery of like shocked disbelief, like in While You Were Sleeping. And he's like, what are we doing? Oh my God.
Did you watch any of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist? He's really, I mean, he plays a dad who has come down with supranuclear palsy, progressive supranuclear palsy. And so you basically get stuck in your own body in a way.
Yeah.
So at least in the early stages, you start losing some of your motor control.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're completely aware of everything that's happening, but you're starting to lose your ability to interact with the world through your body, if that makes sense. Yeah. And he does an incredible job playing it, but because Zoe is able to at times stop the world into a musical number, that gives him an opportunity to interact with her as if he wasn't suffering from the illness. The point of this is just he's awesome in that show, and you should watch it if you have a chance.
Well, it stars. I hope people will give the movie a chance because of that, because it doesn't. What you said, it doesn't play into the normal tropes, and I think that goes the same way with rom-coms. Like, if that was the case, Andy Samberg would be his goofy character,
right? And
he's not.
And she falls in love with him despite his goofiness because he has a heart of gold underneath it. Fuck that.
Right. And now, as a guy who likes rom-coms, I'm okay with watching another movie like that, but you know what? I love
It's not what this movie was, yeah.
But exactly, it's not what this movie was. And you know what? The world is better for having a non-goofy Andy Samberg rom-com movie. So I think that's it. You know, we talked about hedonism, pursuits, suicidal despair, apathetic acceptance. Anything else you think we can talk about for Palm Springs?
No, I think we wrapped it up pretty good.
Well, Matt, thank you for being the first one back in this COVID world. It's appreciated.
It's an honor.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Ciao.
Ciao. The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky is presented by D4K Studios. Executive producer is Nick Argenbright. Co-producers are Ashley Carlson and Catherine Ranella. The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky is also made possible by our Kickstarter backers. To see our backers, check out our show notes over at gbgpodcast.com. Our theme and end credit tracks for The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky are by chiptune artist Hide Your Tigers. You can check out their music by going to hideyourtigers.bandcamp.com. We also feature the track from Futurama, The Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings, an arrangement by our own Nathan Haley. If you enjoy our program, be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and to leave a review or subscribe to wherever podcasts are streamed.
Get out of here without cheese! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you showed up, cheapers! Go have some coffee with cream or something! Because I'll tell you something! This is a happy place!